Glenn, thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I mean,
You bet.
at the end of 2016, I never imagined I'd be sitting here with you in the middle of 2019.
I didn't think that was going to happen either. We've had a long relationship and a good relationship, but the election was a tough one. And I take people at their word when I can, and I just couldn't take Donald Trump at his word. And I've been wrong on a lot of what he's done. And I'm thrilled.
You know, emotions were running very high in 2016.
Yeah.
It was a really fraught year, and I think a lot of people were believing that we were down to a choice between two completely unacceptable candidates. I think a lot of people believe that.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because we have decayed so fast since then. We're in much worse position than we were then, and yet at the same time, Donald Trump is not getting the credit he deserves for the things that he has done. The economy is the best economy we've had since the 1960s. That's insane, because you would never know that listening or watching anybody in mainstream media.
Well, and you know, the statistics at the risk of being repetitive and boring. We have unemployment the lowest rate since 1969, when it must be noted 500,000 young men who would have ordinarily been in the labor force were in Vietnam.
Yeah.
So the number's actually probably better
Yeah.
now than it was in 1969.
Yeah.
You know, and the if you're Hispanic, if you're African American,
If you're a woman, everything.
If you're a woman, if you're any of the groups that the
Yes.
left is always saying that they're out trying to champion, if you're any of those people, you're doing better now
Yeah.
than you have ever done.
And then at the same time, you have the situation to where you have people who are representing care in Congress with power, and they are they're trying to flip our country away from Israel. And thank God, I didn't even think Ted Cruz would move the embassy to Jerusalem. No president has had the balls to do that. He comes in and he moves it. Everybody says it's a huge disaster. Look at what's happening. Look at how our country is, half of our country, or at least I think the representation, the politicians, has taken this thing and they've gone so far the other way to where you're with Hamas. You're with Hezbollah. You're fine with killing a baby 2 minutes before the birth,
Or 2 minutes after.
I mean, it's insanity. They have gone off the deep end, and I think that this next election, you know, people always say it. It's the most important election. This one could decide the fate of the country.
Yeah, and I believe you're right. Well, in 2016, listeners to KTBB were complaining about you a lot.
I bet.
Because they were fearful, to the extent that they had reservations about Donald Trump, and I think the majority of our audience had supported Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
But to the extent that they had reservations about Donald Trump, they had no illusions whatsoever about Hillary Clinton.
No, neither did I.
And they were fearful that by you being as down on Trump as you were, that you were enabling the election of Hillary Clinton. And I had advertisers say the same thing. So have you changed your belief?
I said I would during that time. I firmly believed Donald Trump would never do the things he said he would do because he had zero track record of it. Okay? He is a guy who has a very long track record of saying the opposite things in New York. But I said at the time, if he gets into office and I'm wrong, I want to be wrong. I want to be wrong. So I will gladly admit that I'm wrong, because that means we win. That means we win. I am shocked at the things that he has done, and I'm thrilled. I don't know when we became a country to where when you see a guy do something that you don't expect, you have to hold the ground and continue to say, well, no, there's something wrong. When people in the press see things that he has done, for instance, how does anyone on the left honestly look at Donald Trump and say he's a racist when he worked with Van Jones On prison reform, something I'm for, he does that, and everybody in the press is like, oh, he's a racist, he doesn't. How do you not see that some things that he has done are really good? The answer is, they're just liars. They're just liars. And you have to be willing to say, I was wrong. And I was wrong. And I'm happy that I'm wrong.
Well, and I'm happy that you're wrong, too. Well, I think anybody who's on the right is happy that you're wrong. But help me understand this. There are those on the right, well-known names on the right, who have been longing for the things that Donald Trump has done for a generation. Along comes a president who actually delivers, and they still can't stand him.
Look, here's the thing. When
George Will is an example.
You have to separate Donald Trump from his words and his actions. Sometimes, I mean, I think Donald Trump phrases things in a way I would never phrase them. I would like my president to be a little less flame-throwing than he is. However, seems to be working. Seems to be working.
If he were less flame-throwing, could he have gotten elected?
I don't think so. I don't think so. So while there are things about him personally that I don't necessarily love in my president or hold up to my children, let's look at what he's doing. So far, with an exception of things like the trade barriers, which all conservatives have always been against, exception of those few things, look at what he has advanced. Look at how he is standing against socialism. Only Ronald Reagan has been that clear on socialism. Only Ronald Reagan has been this clear on abortion. Only Ronald Reagan has been this clear on a multiple group of topics, including Israel. He is doing what he said he would do. The days that he stops doing what he said he would do, I'll speak out against him. But now I have his record. You have to be completely dishonest. I was honest of what I feared. But I was also honest when he started performing. Wait a minute, I never thought he'd do that. Okay, good. That's what we should be.
When did you start coming around on him? How long did it take after the inauguration?
Not long. Within 6 months. I can't remember the first thing that he did, but it wasn't that long. Because I just watched him and watched his record. I was disappointed with the taxes, but I'll take them. I'll take them.
Why were you disappointed with the taxes?
I would have liked a more aggressive tax cut,
okay,
but I'll take them. And I don't think that's his fault. I think, I started saying about 6 months into it, the problem here is the Democratic or the Republican Party. Absolutely. The problem is not Donald Trump. Donald Trump would have signed anything. He is the greatest misdirection I've ever seen. I used to talk of Fox all the time. Watch the other hand. Watch the other hand. Oh my gosh, he is the other hand. I think he sits on the crapper in the morning and he's just like, this is going to piss him off. You know what I mean? That's what he does.
Yeah.
The Republicans could have passed anything. Anything. And the press wouldn't have noticed it because they're still doing it. They're still wrapped up in his taxes and everything else that means nothing to anyone. Not going to change anybody's mind. Where are the Republicans? Where are the ones standing up and saying, wait a minute, we don't want government health care. We want to repeal government health care, and we want to make the private sector more competitive. Where is that? It's not Donald Trump's fault.
Well, does the Republican Party in 2020 get more on board the Trump train, or do they keep doing what they're doing?
Oh, I've stopped guessing. I think the Republicans have got to get onto the Trump train, but I don't trust any of them. I've seen what Donald Trump said he would do, and I've seen what the Republicans said they would do. They haven't done anything they said they were going to do. He did what he was going to say to do. So I don't put any stock in what they're saying because I've heard it all before. They're not doing it.
Right. Let me give you some words. Free association.
Okay.
All right, you ready?
All right. Yeah.
Let's got some written down here.
Yeah.
Russia.
Enemy. Big enemy. Not our number one enemy, but big enemy. Number one enemy is China.
Okay, you just said it. China.
China, 1984. It is George Orwell's dystopian view of what's coming. The best thing the president has done that no one even noticed, let alone just didn't mention, they didn't even notice. His stance on 5G is right on the money. If we allow 5G to be built with Chinese technology, we are screwed. It is as foolish as Europe taking oil pipelines from Russia. And you remember what Ronald Reagan said about that. You're doomed if you do that. And we're seeing it now in Ukraine. They're turning off the oil. What are they going to do? China is doing that with information, and they are a very dangerous country.
Following on that, trade with China.
Really tough because China, I am not for trade barriers. I don't like tariffs. They don't work. They're bad for the economy. I'm hoping the president, after he gets his trade deal finished, he'll take those things off because it will juice the economy and help him win. With China, there are reasons to do some things. I've put them in a different category because they are, you know, if you know their China 2025 plan, they are clearly an enemy of freedom. They are clearly an enemy not just of ours, but I believe of all mankind. They are looking to control and dominate the world, and control in a way that's never been done before.
DOJ.
I don't know. I go back and forth every day. I think the way Barr has handled himself has been good. I think the rest of it is a mess. I would like to see somebody go in and just clean it up. I mean, we are losing faith in too many things.
Deep state.
Real, but not what people think of when they think of deep state. Assuming people think in the conspiratorial, okay. I think with the secret courts that we have, that actually is part of it now. But the deep state is absolutely real, and it's why I was glad to see Donald Trump, and everybody was giving him heat for this, and I was like, I like this. He was not replacing people at the State Department. He was just like, yep, gonna leave him unfilled. That's good, because that's the deep state. We'll outlast this president. We'll do what we want to do. That's got to stop. We have to find a way to cycle out, well, first Congress, term limits, but there should be term limits for civil servants as well. You should not be able to have a lifetime gig in Washington.
Well, the term limits are if you do a good job, you keep your job. If you do a bad job, you get fired. But we can't fire.
You can't fire anybody.
You can't fire any of these
no,
guys.
You can't fire them.
Okay. Biden.
2 words. Part of the socialist gang, so I would say gang player, and appears moderate. I worry about Joe Biden because if you look at the polls now, Joe Biden he's 39 points ahead in one poll. He's got 22 people going after him. He's 40 points ahead. The lowest is, I think, 27% ahead. So he's clearly the guy. Remember, the polls were pretty right about Donald Trump, too. This time, a month later from this, the first poll on Donald Trump, he was about 10 points ahead. This guy has anywhere from a 25 to 39 percentage point lead here. That's both good news and bad news. The good news is it shows that there is a massive appetite for anything other than a socialist because they've run so left and so crazy that Joe Biden looks non-radical. But we have to remember, he was the most liberal in Congress next to Barack Obama. But I think that the Democrats are going to look at him as a moderate. And I don't think he's going to be moderate in office. I don't think he's going to pick a moderate as a vice president. And I think it will be a very, very radical presidency if he wins. We have to pray that the president takes the tariffs off. If he needs to, take the tariffs off and make sure that this economy is roaring. Because I don't think people will risk changing a horse in midstream if the economy is as good as it is.
Pelosi.
Done. Frightened. Fighting for her life. They're afraid of the left. They've opened up a can of worms, and those worms are now just eating their corpse. So it's happening.
Well, let's segue. Democrats.
Socialists. They are not even what we thought they were in 2008. When Van Jones is on the outs from the Democratic Party because he's too moderate, Van Jones,
No.
you've got a problem. They are not the Democrats. They are not even Barack Obama Democrats. That's saying something. These are real, true radicals.
I have said that if John F. Kennedy came back today, he would have to run as a Republican if he wanted to run. But could Bill Clinton
No.
make it in this party today?
No. None of them would.
Daniel Patrick Moynihan? You know,
Bill Clinton was the guy who said the end of big government is over.
The era of big government.
Yeah, I mean, there's no way. These guys, when you read the Green Jobs, the Green
New Deal, yeah,
it says in there that it is to fundamentally transform the American financial system to a system of environmental and social justice.
Yeah,
I mean,
it does.
they're saying it. It's in the bill.
Yeah, and at one time they wouldn't have dared say it out loud.
Never say that. But they are openly saying now, we are going to end capitalism. We are going to, the free market system won't be with us very long. They are doing everything they can to end it. With the fundamental transformation that was started under Barack Obama has happened. And we are at the end stages unless we wake up. We have to have constitutionalists with a spine. Because I think if Donald Trump is reelected, I hope, we are looking at the economy at some point taking a dive. It will. It has to. It always does. It's cyclical. It's not him or anything else. It's cyclical. I fear that we are so wrapped up in progressivism and socialism now that we'll see a repeat of George Bush, I'll violate the free market system to save the free market system. That can't be done this time because the wolves are they're inside the house. The wolves are inside the house, and we need a strong president. The best thing that's happened to us is the Democrats have treated him like garbage. You're not going to work with him.
Yeah.
He's not going to work with him. If they were smart, they would have been good to him all the way, and he would have tried. I think he likes to be liked. And he would have tried to bring them in a little bit here and there, but they were so ghastly to him that there's absolutely no way he will work with them. And I think that is a great thing.
Republicans.
Worthless.
In a word.
Worthless. What do they stand for? I can tell you what the Democrats stand for. I don't like any of it. But I can tell you what they stand for. Tell me what we're fighting for. Tell me why I should be a Republican. Tell me. To get Donald Trump elected? I don't need to be a Republican to do that. I don't need that. He doesn't need that. Why should I be a Republican? What do they stand for? What are they doing? What are they fighting for? Constitution? Not that I see. Freedom of speech and press? Nope, not that I see. Birth? Maybe. Life? Maybe. They're pretty good on that one.
Not so good on fiscal responsibility.
Fiscal responsibility, it's a joke. It's worse. It's worse with them. Healthcare? Worse. What do they stand for? What do I need them for? They're worthless. They're beyond worthless. They're dangerous.
Last two. 2020.
I want to be really careful because anyone I endorse loses.
Okay.
So I do not want, this is not an endorsement of Donald Trump.
Okay. Okay. All right.
2020, assuming the economy stays right, I think Donald Trump has a Ronald Reagan style victory because the Democrats have been so crazy on so many things. I think they've scared the hell out of the American people. The border, as you know, is absolutely on fire. The Jim Acosta, there's no emergency down at the border. That should be played all the time.
Mm-hmm.
When Americans see what Congress has done to Americans on this side of the border and the holes on security, I think if the economy is good, it's a very good year for Donald Trump.
Does he bring the House back with him?
I don't know. I think the Democrats have so overplayed their hand that anything is possible.
Last question.
Yeah.
The Republic.
On the edge. On the edge. I see really good signs. I see signs of people who thought they were liberals, but they don't even know what liberal means anymore. And I think they were probably classic liberals. They were, I'm for freedom of speech. And they don't even know what that means anymore. They look at the Democratic Party and say, I can't do it. I think there is a hunger for people getting together and mending fences in the country, not in Washington. I worry about the Constitution. When I talk to people in Washington and they tell me there isn't anybody that cares about the Constitution. There's nobody having conversations in the hallways of Congress or the Senate about the Constitution. That is our republic. That is our republic.
Absolutely it is.
We have to somehow or another grab hold of our kids and instill this in them, because I think we could lose it, really lose it. I think more and more people in America are starting to realize, wait, this is very serious. I've had people come up to me, Democrats come up to me and say, I used to think you were the devil. And I used to think you were crazy and all the warnings that you gave. I can see this happening now. And they're not voting for Democrats.
No.
You can see it. You just have to watch the news and you're like, well, I've read the Bible before. I've seen where societies are destroyed and they destroy themselves. And then like 10 pages later, you're like, wait, guys, did you just forget what happened to you?
Yeah.
And it always is the same pattern. And we need to turn our face back to God and beg him forgiveness and beg him to heal our land, because I think it's going to take all of us coming back to truth, truth that our parents and our grandparents knew and taught, and standing hand in hand. The solution's not going to come from Washington. It's got to come from us.
Glenn, you're going to be back on the air with us June 3rd, and we're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. God bless.
You too.